Welcome to this tutorial video of building a narrative design of an ancient temple tour guide. So a narrative flow of an ancient temple tour guide can go like this. So if the user enters the temple premises, the character can guide the user through the temple statue, then to the guard heads, to the magic candles, to the temple entrance, and then to the temple yard. And each step the character will talk something about that particular location, answer any user queries, and if the user does not have any query, then move on to the next step. So in this tutorial video, I'll try to build such a narrative design in the Convoy Playground. Here is the narrative design interface in the Convoy Playground, where I'll try to build the narrative design of the tour guide character. First, let me go to the character description, where I've put the character name and the character backstory as the tour guide of the ancient temple. Now let's go back to the narrative design and create sections. So I have jotted down the different sections like introduction, temple, statue, guard heads, and the objective of the sections. So I'll first create the sections for these individual nodes. Okay, so create a new section. So here we can see that if I click on the section, there's a name section, objective, and the decisions. I'll change the name to introduction and update it. So there are also objective and decisions. This I'll fill up later after creating all the sections. So create a new section again. I'll rename this as temple statue. I'll create a new section again. I'll rename this as guard heads. So in this way I'll create all the sections for all the nodes. So here I have created all the sections for all the main nodes that are required, like temple statue, guard heads, magic candles, temple entrance, and temple yard. Now I'll fill up all the objectives for individual nodes. So objectives are basically what the character is supposed to do or say to the user. For the introduction, I have start talking about the ancient temple tour like the following. Welcome to the ancient temple, prepare to be amazed, are you ready for the tour? So I copy and paste it here and update it. Next node is temple statue. Say to the user the below paragraph. Marvel at the temple statue standing tall in the mountains. Admire the grandeur, intricate craftsmanship, feel its power and strength. Do you have any question? Then the user in the next iteration can ask a question. So if the user response is not an answer, they have a question. Then answer the user's question and ask the user if user has any questions. This last sentence is if the user wants to hold the conversation and do not want to move to the next stage. So I copy this objective and I paste it in the temple statue objective box. Okay, update. So in this way I'll copy and paste all the objectives from my notes to these sections. So in each objective the character will basically describe that place and try to answer any query that the user might have. Now I have populated all the section objective here, as you can see. Introduction, temple, statue, guard heads. I moved magic candles, temple entrance, temple yard, and I've created a new section called exit, which basically will exit this narration. So you might have noticed that I have not populated the decisions for each sections. Now I will fill up the decisions. So for the introduction section, the objective is start talking about the ancient temple tour like the following. Welcome to the ancient temple. Prepare to be amazed. Are you ready for the tour? Now the decision will be if the user intent is yes, then I will connect to uh, the next section, that is temple statue. Now I will add a new decision, and if the user intent is no, I will connect to exit update. So here we can see that there are transition arrows from introduction to temple status and introduction to exit section. Now the next node, when I come to the temple statue, the character talks about the temple statue and asks the user questions. Now if the user does not have any question, then the character will take the user or guide the user to the next location, that is guard heads. Now after the temple statue conversation has ended, the character will not immediately talk about guard heads. The character will, as I said, uh, guide the user towards guard heads. Now this can be thought of as an external stimulus, external event. So this kind of transitions can be simulated in this playground using triggers. So what I'll do is create a new section. Okay, a new section has been created. Yeah, a new section called section 8 has been created. This can be thought of as a trigger inducing section. I will put this in between. In section 8, I will call this trigger inducing section as to guard heads, and I will fill up the objective as okay, let's go to the guard heads. Now here, instead of decisions, I will add a trigger. Before doing that, I'll have to create a new trigger event. So a new trigger, the blue icon has been created. Okay, before doing anything, I have to section 8. I have to update it to update the section 8 to guard heads update. Okay, this section name has been dated. This section 8. Okay, at the earlier I had done this, but due to some reason it has gone. So I fill up again. Okay, let's go to the guard heads update. Okay, now going to the trigger, I call the trigger name guard heads trigger. Trigger user reaches guard heads. Fill up the message. This is optional. So Now going to guarded section. In the trigger trigger ID is guardheads trigger. Connects to This will connect to the guardheads. So the trigger ID should be the guardheads trigger, and the connects to will be guardheads section. Okay, so here we can see that this two guardheads trigger inducing section has a trigger path from two guardheads to the guardheads. So what will happen is, when I'll reach this section in the narration flow, the character will say, okay, let's go to the guardheads, and I'll invoke this trigger. And when I click this button, invoke trigger, the character will start narrating this guardheads objective. So before that, I have to include a transition from temple statue to guardheads. Okay. So here the decision will be user specified explicitly that he does not have any question. So when I'm in the temple statue, I'm currently in the temple statue section. Decision is when the user intent is like the user does not explicitly says that or specifies that he does not have any question, then move to the two guard heads. Okay. Okay, this is the trigger transitions using trigger. So after touring the temple statue, the user says, the character says, do you have any question? The user says, no, I don't. Then it goes to the two guard heads section, where the character says, okay, let's go to the guard heads. And the character takes the user to the guard heads, walks to the guard heads. And when they reach the guard heads, the character will start talking about guard heads. But in this playground, to simulate the event that the user and the character has reached guard heads, I go to this two guards heads and invoke this trigger. So which basically says that they have reached the guard heads location. Similarly, from guard heads to magic candles, from magic candles to temple entrance, I will create such triggers and triggered inducing sections like here. Okay, before doing that, I have to include another introductory global trigger. That is one. Okay. So this global trigger basically signifies that the user has reached the temple premises. So it is the trigger that will be invoked at the beginning of the conversation. So I name this as user entry, and the message is user enters temple. User enters temple. And destination ID is to introduction, right? So make update. So first I'll go to this global entry user, global trigger user entry, invoke this trigger and the conversation, and the character will start describing about this tour. So it will be more clear when I start the conversation. Okay, now I have created all the trigger transitions between the different sections. Temple statue to guard heads to magic candles to temple entrance to temple yard. So my narrative design is complete. Each section has their objectives and their transitions. So let's test it out using the chat interface. Yeah. So to begin the conversation, I have to go to the beginning topmost trigger. user entry trigger. So I click the invoke trigger button. So as you can see, the green halo behind the section says that the current state of the conversation is in this section. So in this section, what the objective is to describe about the ancient temple tour. So in the chat you can see the character says, "Welcome to the ancient temple, prepare to be amazed. Are you ready for the tour?" Yeah, let's do it. Okay, it moves on to the next section, which is uh, the temple statue trigger inducing uh, section. It talks about, let's start with the temple statue. So I go to this temple statue section, invoke trigger, and I click the invoke trigger in this section, so which mainly signifies that the character has taken the user to the temple statue. So I invoke the trigger. Okay, now you can see that the green halo is behind this section, which basically is the temple statue description section, main temple statue section, where the character talks about the temple statue and says, do you have any questions? Well, I say, yeah, so when was it built? Okay, the character answers, the temple statue was built over 1,000 years ago during the ancient civilization that thrived in this region. So it must be noted here that this answer is not in the objective. It basically talks about it from its own uh, knowledge. So here the object is basically to answer any query that the user says. Okay. Oh, okay, nice. I'm glad you find it nice. The temple statue is truly a sight to behold. So, and then it asks if there's anything specific you'd like to know about it. Feel free to ask. So I asked it something personal. So, how old are you? As a tour guide of the ancient temple, I don't have an age in the same way that to share the history significance. But it just dodges the question and just asks, is there anything else you'd like to know about the temple? No, thanks. So the user, I want to just go on with the tour. No, thanks. Okay, since my hair, you can see that since the decision was that I users explicitly specified that he does not have any question. So I said that no, thanks, I do not have any questions. So it uh, recognized this intent and moved on to the next guard hits inducing section. So okay, let's proceed to the guard hits, and I have to invoke this trigger. So I'm at the 2 guard hits section. I will invoke this trigger. And from the green halo shifting, you can obviously see that it has moved to the main guard hits section, where it describes about guard hits. As you can see, the character describes about, behold the guard hits protecting the ancient temple from danger. And At the end it asks, do you have any question? Okay. Uh, what is their significance? The gardens hold great significance, and the character basically describes what is the significance of the gardens. So again, it must be noted here that these things are not in the objective. As basically, in the objective, it has been instructed that the character respond to any question that a user asks. Oh, interesting. If you have any more questions, um, the character is glad that I found it interesting. And he asks, if you have any more questions, if there is anything else you'd like to explore, feel free to let me know. No, thanks. No, thanks. Let's proceed. Okay, let's proceed to the magic candles. Okay, the tour guide now, because uh, yeah, so since I have specified that I do not have any question, the user intent, he recognized that and moved on to this green halo section, which is the two magic candles, which is a trigger inducing section. So okay, let's proceed to the magic candles. Okay, so they have reached it, and I simulate this reaching the location event by invoking this trigger. Okay, they have reached it, so I invoke this trigger. Okay, so it describes the magic candles. uh, the character describes the magic candles. These candles can be made of natural elements like wax. Oh great, that's something, that was something new. Okay, maybe something better. Oh great. Okay. Oh great, what kind of magic do they possess? The magic candles in the ancient temple possess a special energy significance. They are believed to hold the power to bring forth positive energy. Amazing. Okay, got it. Then he asked whether I have any question. I said, nope, I don't. Okay, let's proceed to the temple entrance. And again, I had to invoke this trigger. Gaze upon the entrance of the majestic temple with its ornate green stone columns, crowned with the face of the emperor. It is a sight that commands respect. Do you have any questions about the temple entrance? Yeah, how? Yeah, majestic. How tall is this? Stands at, and so it responds to this particular query of mine. So one thing that I have not pointed out before, I think, is that as you can see that as I hold the conversation here at this particular state, the green halo is fixed on this section because I have not moved forward. That is new thing that I learned today. Glad I could provide you with new knowledge. The ancient temple is full of fascinating detail, historical significance. If there is anything else you'd like to know. No. No, I don't have any question. Or maybe it's becoming too obvious. Let's do something. No. No, I'm already overwhelmed. Okay, let's go into the temple yard. It has moved to the temple yard, and I'll invoke the trigger for temple yard. Okay. Step into temple yard. So as you can see, the green Hallam moved to the second last section before exit, which is the temple yard, which is our last node. So it describes the temple yard here. Step into temple yard with its majestic temple statue at the center of that offering. This truly is an amazing sight. Clues up. Do you have any more questions? So I think by now you have got a hang about this chat. So I really complete this. No, thanks a lot for this tour. You are an amazing tour guide. Okay, please, I'm glad you enjoyed the tour, found it informative. It was my pleasure to be your tour guide. If you ever decide to explore the temple, feel free to reach out. Have a wonderful day. So it goes to the next section, that is the exit section. So this concludes the tutorial video about how to build a narrative design, a little bit more intermediate narrative design for an ancient temple tour guide, and test it out in the chat interface in the Convey playground.